Welcome to Jong Clinic!
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm one of the Shore to Shore team members. I'm a year 2 undergraduate at NUS. So we had like a theory section in the beginning, and I think the most insightful thing for me was really just that like the people who used to make these boats, they weren't like experts in like physics or like like they had like machines or anything, math. They just like knew how to make the boats just from like their own knowledge, and I thought it was really cool. And then I guess another fun thing was just seeing everyone being able to try launching the jong boats from the sea, because the wind today was like really strong, and so it made it a bit more difficult than usual, but people still like tried and it was really fun. Yeah.
It was really like a memorable experience because like it was my first time releasing a jong. Definitely there's excitement to see which jong is the fastest, and apparently our boat is the fastest, but so lucky. But I think I heard from Fauzi that that's the best boat, so I think it's not my talent. It was really fun, and I would definitely would like to participate in another workshop with you guys. Yeah.
I think it was quite interesting. I learned so much about like how like the indigenous and their maritime crafts, how they could tell the wind even before like things like what's that thing that the tube that you use to like tell the wind, how they constructed the boats, how they knew how to prepare and configure the boat before launch, how to make sure that the catamaran is parallel to each other. Yeah, I think that's really interesting. Well, I think when launching the boat, I think seeing my boat catch up, being the first, I think I felt a sense of pride. Like, the time spent bringing it down was not in vain. I was quite worried that it would topple over, but I think seeing how the jong master configured the boat properly for us, I think it's a show of like the mastery of the indigenous crafts, and like how it's a lifestyle for them.
For me, definitely one of the key takeaways is just to make heritage accessible. I think a lot of the times over the years is like cultural and heritage can be forgotten, especially if you're talking about like the southern islands with how like a lot of the residents were displaced. So it's really easy to forget about what people of past generations used to do. So I think it's just really important to make sure that heritage is accessible. I think that was why we were really lucky that Singapore Heritage Fest chose us for one of our programs, because we were planning to originally have Jong Clinic anyway, but then because we were able to collaborate with them with it, this made it a lot easier to reach out to many more people and just make it like a better experience for everyone. Yeah.
Definitely like the importance of raising awareness about traditional culture and also the Orang Pulau history, because as you can see that jong was actually created way before the British came down and took over, take credits of like the creation of these jongs and rename it to the creation of theirs. And I think it's really eye-opening to know that even the Malay people who was mentioned to be really bad at maths, but in terms of practicality, Malay individuals back then, so craftsmanships are really amazing in navigating and implementing maths theories into their building, even from the jong itself when we fix a revert. So I think it's good for more people to be curious about these like workshops, so that they can actually gain more knowledge and educate themselves about the history of the Orang Laut and as well as other cultures in the world. Yeah.
I think my biggest takeaway from this is how like we're a maritime country, but yet we don't really see like a lot of maritime activity, a lot of maritime crafts. So I think that's my biggest takeaway. Like these maritime crafts still exist, and they are still actually quite accessible. And but because of industrialization and progress in societal progress, they're slowly being lost lah. And it's very important that we maintain these traditions, not just because it's like Singapore's indigenous culture, but also it's a way of life lah that we need to preserve as a maritime country. Like you look at Japan, you look at Indonesia, they have their boating culture, their sea culture is so strong, but Singapore we have completely lost touch with the sea. So I think it's something deeply integral to our identity as a island country, and we have to preserve it. Yeah.
So what keeps you motivated, like advocating for the continuation of Jong?
I know part of it basically is because of what I have been entrusted to by my dad to carry out this legacy. Another part of it is for the sake of the next generation, which they don't really. If I don't try to advocate or to relive these sea sports or about this artisanal artifact, be it the Jong or the Kolek, then it'd be sad that the coming generation, they don't really understand, they have never seen, they don't understand, or they totally lost the heritage which was once belonged to their forefather.
So like our last question is, what's the main thing you want people to take away from the Jong Clinic?
That one of it is we don't look at that the forefathers back then is as who they are, or we have that perspective of our forefather is, or they are just like that. It's like that, that kind of perception of it's like that. But if you understand more that they are simply the one that creates or they are the one that activates or trigger the ideas and learning it and perfecting the ideas of what it is that we had right now today, for any kind of examples, you see, that we don't simply see as, we don't really look at how the process goes by. We only look at it that, oh, this thing is there already. When I was born, this thing is there already, so I don't really go in depth or in depth about the process of how this thing was created or happened by the forefathers.
Hi everyone, we are done with day 1 of our eco writing workshop. It's been a pretty amazing experience. So we were actually up on Sisters Island earlier today, and we actually look at some of the natural features, and we also talk about some of the stories of the Sister Islands. And we also headed over to Kuso Island for like a part 2, and we had a really fruitful discussion over there, looking at the islands and the religious practices happening there. So we have the 2 facilitators here. We have Jim and Andrea. Maybe you want to briefly introduce yourselves to our audience?
Hi, I'm Jim. I'm a student for NTU. I'm doing like environmental engineering. So I think it was interesting to hear about like all the religious and cultural like practices on the islands, because to me I'm more like familiar with like nature stuff. So I think it was quite interesting to hear like maybe the histories of like the people who used to live there, and also how it plays in how it could play into like how it could turn into inspiration to like creating like artistic works.
Hi, my name is Andra. I'm from NUS and studying data science and economics. One interesting thing that I think I've took away from this trip is actually the interplay between the different religions in one single island. So I believe that Zheng Hong talked about like Topekong and like this Malay and even Tamil influences, which I think is very fascinating. And something that I also felt that was really good for this workshop was how different people from different backgrounds saw the same thing but actually managed to churn out such rich pieces.
Yeah, so actually we had a really fruitful writing segment for today's workshop. We actually got our participants to kind of write down some words and some thoughts that they have after going through the tour, and we received really interesting writings that we have. Okay, maybe one last question is maybe how do you all go about your process of facilitating this workshop? You know, any sort of encounters, any sort of practices that you adopted?
Right, so obviously I did like write down some stuff ahead of time to talk about, but I think I just kind of draw from what I see there in a moment, because like with nature and all that, it really depends on what shows up, but also just whatever knowledge like comes to mind. So for example, if I see like a certain bird show up and I realize like, oh, actually it's a bird that we can see on mainland, and then I'll try to explain like, you know, like what could it be doing here, for example. And maybe some of the signboards there also, they have like some information there, so when I see it, I'll just get reminded of things and I draw connections that way. Yeah.
I think for me, I like to plan things way in advance. So I just make sure that I plan really thoroughly at first. But I do think that when it comes to the actual thing, it's better to just see the vibes and just go with the flow lah. Yeah. But safety is the most important, so that's what I will try to plan first. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's about it, and thanks everyone for following us along this episode. See ya!
I guess one of the key takeaways is actually I never realized how fragile like the marine life is. Like, you know, like I did not know that insect repellent could have such adverse effects on like the corals, and also like sunblock. Like it's so important to like when like interacting with wildlife or marine life. It's so important that little things like sunblock can actually make such a huge difference. You know.
So actually, like while you were on the islands, right, what were some of the highlights of today's intertidal walk?
Oh, okay. Definitely seeing the giant clam.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and learning about, and it was quite shocking to learn that it was actually extinct at some point. Like it was extinct for a while in Singapore until it was reintroduced by one of the marine scientists. Yeah, I like really appreciate the fact that, you know, like the scientists like actually took the time to actually cultivate the clams from the egg all the way to like a full-size clam. Like I learned that clam was like that clam has been there for like about maybe 20-30 years, or it could have been more. Yeah.
Oh, so I'm Lisa.
I'm Sek Chuan.
Hi, Sekshan and Lisa. Hi, nice to
Okay,
meet
so we
you.
are volunteer guide with a friend of Marine Park, or rather Sister Island Marine Park. Yeah.
So just want to ask, how do y'all get interested in
Okay, so for me, okay, for us, we are, because first is of course our science background does in a way influence us a little bit, and so I actually started guiding. So I volunteered for MPark for the longest time. So I guided in Chek Jawa before, Sungai Buloh, and then after when the Marine Park opened in 2014. So I kind of like jump ship, then yeah. So I came over, and then I was the pioneer batch of the Marine Park guide, volunteer guide. So yeah, since then the rest is history.
My guiding is a bit like japtai, jumping here and there. When I first started doing work in Singapore, I was actually part of NParks first, because I had joined NParks
As a full-time staff.
And then after that, when I left NParks, I was picked up by a private company to do school education programs in an outdoor setting. At that time, I was purely freelance, so sometimes I'll be working for that company. And then I was also working independently, doing my own nature guiding walks in Singapore, and this was basically from the mid-90s onwards. And then
yeah, both of us.
I was jumping back and forth.
Both of us were in a way also considered like ex-colleague, because we used to work for an outdoor company.
Yeah.
And we actually bring our local students to like Malaysia and Indonesia for all these like marine eco camp. Yeah. So those were the very fun days. Yeah.
Yeah. So since 2018, I've been freelance. I was 2 years for the Marine Lab before that, and then I've been freelance ever since. And when NParks officially gazetted Sisters Island, because I was busy, I didn't sign up so quickly, but after that I signed up and then gradually joined the committee. So I'm part of the Friends of Marine Park committee as well. So I'm helping Lisa with education and outreach. And so here, this is where I am now.
Actually, that's how you get to know us. Dr. Hamza link you up with the Friend of Marine Park. Yeah. So because there is actually we have got a few people who actually like helping different so-called different group. So mine is the education outreach, and then we have Fauzi, who was actually ex-islander. I think you work with him also on the Jong building and all those things, the Jong workshop. So Fauzi is actually in front of Marine Park. He is the heritage coordinator. So I'm the outreach and education coordinator. So we have different subgroup. So mine is always all those like you see got the booth. Then we are going to talk about things. Then that is where we are there. We are seen there. So Fauzi is always doing all the heritage workshops and all those things. Yeah.
Okay, I think one of the most important questions that I want to ask is like why what you do matters, right? Especially to the maritime heritage, the ecosystems here. Just want to elaborate more about that?
Okay, so that one is okay. That one over like just now. I think I shared with some of them. So when I first started diving, I actually never dived in Singapore water before, because I always think that our water is not clear enough to see things. So there's nothing right? What's there to dive and see? But I was so wrong. Okay, so until one Caucasian guy who actually live in Singapore, and he said, "You are a Singaporean, you never dive in Singapore water." I felt so, and I was scolded when I was actually in Malaysia. I think I was diving in Redang. And then he like, "You from Singapore?" And then he thought that, wow, I know all the Singapore Pulau Hantu. Then I said, never dive before. Wow, I get like, wow, slap right, left, right, center. Then after I came back, then I just think about it, and then so I joined some local dive, and then but nowadays if I dive locally, normally it's volunteering work, like the dive survey and all those things. Not so much of recreational dive. Recreational, I still like to go to Indonesia. Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, I felt there was a gap in knowledge of the coastal and marine environment in Singapore. There's a lot of work. There is still a lot of work being done on the terrestrial side, and terrestrial is easy because you don't have to put on gear.
Yeah.
You can spend any number, any amount of time on land. There's no restriction. Underwater is different because you're restricted by how much air you can take underwater. So
and the tide, the wind, everything, a lot of factors have to make your dive safe. Yeah.
And for a lot of Singaporeans, I would say the modern Singaporeans, so those that are born from the 80s onwards, they never really grew up playing in the sea, playing in the jungle. So the sea is an unknown to a lot of people in Singapore, and I felt that if you speak to anyone and you tell them, go and swim in the sea, they're scared because they don't know what's down there. So one of the things I felt was, I think people need to know what's there. So this is where I slowly sort of changed to more awareness and outreach, trying to get people to understand the sea is not that bad. You have to respect it because it can be dangerous, but there are things in our seas that a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people don't realize that before reclamation started in the 60s, our waters were a little bit clearer and you could see coral. There were coral around. You can
everywhere.
See. Likewise with the coastal, before reclamation we had really nice coastal areas. So like the West Coast area, that was a stretch of rocky shore, and all that's left now is what's left in Labrador. When I learned my diving, I was going to secondary school here. Now, I'm a peculiar guy. Even though I'm Singaporean, because of where my father worked, my father moved in and out of Singapore. I ended up going to school in international schools. So my first dive instructor was based in United World College. And he took me out to Hantu. My first open water dive was in Pulau Jong. And so all my training was done in Singapore waters. So I grew up diving in Singapore waters, snorkeling, if you can call it snorkeling. But yeah, so for me, Singapore waters holds a very valued place in my heart. And the coastal areas, the remnants of the original, and all the stuff that has come back since the 70s, like in Sisters Island, the lagoon is man-made, but it's regenerated over almost 40 years. So all of that is valuable stuff.
Yeah.
All of that needs an awareness and attention that Singaporeans these days, they are getting more aware, they're getting a bit more informed about these things.
Yeah.
But between the 80s and the 90s, there was a lack of interest, and because of that lack of interest, nobody really wanted to go in there. So it's about building awareness.
It's really nice to hear how you mentioned about, I guess, how across the decades, how Singaporeans engage with, coastal areas, like awareness. So I think my last question is actually, how can the everyday Singaporean contribute and be engaged with what you are doing?
How our regular Singaporean can engage with what we are doing? I think this question is a little bit difficult to say general Singaporean who want to be. So unless the good thing about what Sik Chuan, just adding on to what he said, so if this might actually kind of answer the question. So in the 80s and the 90s, that was the time when we were going to school. So and during that time, we don't have such courses, like now RP have this marine science thing, and then our NUS, and then we have all the marine lab, and then we have so many marine scientists now in the reef ecology lab and all those things. So but then they are like a very rare species of people who study that kind of course during that time. So But then for us, we all did not study in local U. But the thing is, at that time, really like what he said, it's not popular. Nobody want to do that kind of courses. Everybody want to do business and all those things. Yeah, because it's really lack of awareness. But today, you talk to anybody, because of our marine scientists, all the young marine scientists in our NUS, they're all young scientists, and then now a lot of all those news talking about conservation work, about they building the reef structure, the man-made reef at just put off the sister islands and all this. Like just now when I was talking to my group about the giant clam, so that was done by Dr. Nyo Mei Ling, who actually studied them and cultivate them, and then we planted those, actually literally put them in that man-made lagoon to really bring back life. But if you talk about maybe 30 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, really nobody cared. Nobody is interested in all those things. So, but then now the thing changed, and I feel that now general Singaporean can be involved is like do what we do lah. So they volunteer, they can help to spread, to share about our marine biodiversity, because we are really an island. We are really surrounded by water. But then a lot of things are gone, but that doesn't mean that they cannot come back. So slowly they are bringing back a little bit here and there. That's why we have our first marine park. Second marine park is coming up. So we hope that with all this, right, things can we have a place that we can bring people, to show people and tell them, say, we actually have this. Yeah, because sometimes it's very difficult for people to want to protect things that they don't even know or they don't even see. So you have to show them first. And today we get a group of people interested already. They were asking about how to volunteer. So that is how we start. I guess this is how we can start, because people have to see or know before they can come in to help, to be involved. Yeah.
So one of the peculiarities about our education system is it's highly academic. It's all about books, and our students.
System,
so the Singapore system. So our Singapore students are amongst the top in the world in our education and our academic qualities. What I feel is that the part that is missing is the actual hands-on part. So a lot of schools are changing slowly from just academic book learning to going outdoors and getting more hands-on. And I think that is a positive move. I think our future educators, our future population, they'll become doctors, lawyers, politicians, God forbid. But these are the people that would benefit from having more hands-on outdoors. They need to know what's out there. Learning from books is one thing, but the application of that learning is the part that is still missing, and that needs to be addressed. It needs to be brought to attention more. So, yeah.
In a way, it's more holistic lah. That means what you do, what you learn from books, so learning journeys are good. Yes. Because you get to go out. Yeah. So that is why I feel that I think now more schools are actually bringing the student out, and this is so important. And when they are out, then they see it for themselves. Then that's how they can get interested.
Reksa, are there any final words you have to conclude this interview today?
Just that there is hope for the future. What I'm seeing now is that there's more action by the younger people. There's more sort of thinking about what's going to happen to Singapore. So I think, yes, there's going to be hope for Singapore in terms of nature and how it fits into the rest of our world.
I wanted to ask, what was the experience like for you of guiding people on the tour?
Well, it's actually my first time guiding like a group of people, like strangers, I would say, officially, because I used to go there with friends and other relatives just to show around the island and what we used to do. But to be guiding a group of strangers, it's a very fulfilling experience for me, because getting some remarks and feedbacks. But because too bad it had to be cut short. We only got to explore half of the island, so there was so many other things that I wanted to show them. But nevertheless, they still they enjoyed themselves, and that was very fulfilling for me.
There's something about living on the islands that most people wouldn't know about.
So they wouldn't know about that we rarely eat meat, red meat, I would say. Yeah, because we were self-sustainable, like in a sense. We eat what we catch, and I think we eat fishes every day and other seafoods. Yeah, it's that I think these people would think that our diet just comprised mostly of fishes and seafood every day, and we rarely, because we don't have a shop. So we rarely snack or like chocolates, sweets. Yeah, our snacks are like sugarcane, fruits. Those are our snacks.
What was that experience like for you when you and your family had to move back to mainland Singapore?
It was, needless to say, devastating. But I think I was a little young to really immerse myself in that situation. So I think I was in denial at the same time, and I kind of blocked my emotion at that point of time. But I remember after moving here to the mainland, I was finding a hard time adapting to my everyday life and routine.
How can we help to sustain the stories and heritage of the former islanders?
I think what you guys are doing is great. Yeah, you guys did this initiative is great, and also I received a few feedbacks from the people who went on the tour just now, that they hope that more of this will happen. So to hear from the residents themselves, I mean like myself, telling them, sharing about my experiences and stories, like how we live our day-to-day life there, the kind of food and fruits we eat. It was an eye-opener for them, because they have been there previously, but they were just, just walking around aimlessly, not knowing what tree is this, and to be able to share a little bit of knowledge with them about the island and everything else. It's a satisfaction.
Thank you so much, Athena, for hosting the tour
and
for sharing the islander heritage with all of us.
Thank you for doing.
Hi, welcome to our Shore to Shore exhibit. So we have this at Stranger Conversations, and you can see it's meant to be almost like a living room, very casual. So we invite you to come and lepak with us. First up, we have a browsing library here, which houses a collection of materials related to the Southern Islands. For example, we have books such as the Myths and Legends of Singapore, and we have a collection of newspaper articles as well. And we have these cute little souvenirs containing pictures that we personally took when we went to the Southern Islands, and you can take them home as postcards for your own perusal. Moving on, we have this table here that is done up by NAFA students who we're collaborating with. They actually helped us to make a lot of the props in the room, including these cardboard pieces, these kind of textured materials, and little coral, like these little coral reefs that you'll see around the whole exhibit sort of like Easter eggs. So the NAFA students, why they're here is because they did a previous exhibit on the Southern Islands, more specifically the folk tales, and they have these activity booklets to document the work that they did, and we also wanted to give them the platform to share about what they do. Opposite that table, we have woodblock prints, and these prints are kindly donated to us by NUS faculty and students. So the woodblock prints themselves, they contain, or rather they depict images related to the islands, such as certain flora and fauna, like we see crabs over here, we see parts of the Jong boat, and we basically seeing slices of life of what living on the islands was like. And speaking of Jong boats, actually, over here we have a very nicely done up Jong boat model, and next to it the Kolek boat model. So I know over here the Jong boat looks bigger, but in reality the Jong boat is the smaller one and the Kolek boat is the bigger one that is supposed to have 9 people riding it. Right, and also these boats were kindly loaned to us by Fauzi, who also hosted our Jong boat clinic workshops. Okay, moving on, we have this map over here that is kindly loaned to us by our supervisor, Prof. Hamza. So the map was also used at a previous exhibit, and that's why we can see scribbles all around. So the scribbles denote memories of places that used to be on the island, such as people's homes and even a school as well. And we also have photographs, some of them from archival records and some of them from personal family connections. Most notably, the family photos are from Adina. So over here, we can see 2 children, and that's actually Adina. Thank you, Adina, for lending us your photos. And we can see snippets of her life as well, like her old house, the sampan that her family used to sail around Lazarus. And it really gives you a sense of what life on the islands was like. Right, okay, so we also have a 360 web tour over here, and this web tour allows you to visit the islands without actually leaving the mainland, although we do encourage you to visit the islands physically if you can make the time to do so. And scattered around the exhibit are also eco-writing pieces that our very own participants completed during the eco-writing workshop. We have a combination of poetry, prose, and everything in between. And finally, if you can see over here, we have our docuseries that is being screened throughout the exhibit. So this docuseries is presented as a summary of everything that we have covered so far, which includes our heritage tours, our intertidal walks, as well as the Jong Clinic workshops that we did. And why we chose to have this docuseries is to document mostly what we've been doing, because this exhibit, what it actually is a culmination of everything that we've done. So we wanted to share our efforts of the islands and also of people as well. We were interviewing former islanders, we were interviewing marine biologists, people who led intertidal walks, and we just wanted a platform for all of these islanders and island enthusiasts to come together. And on that note, I think what we'd really like you to take away from this exhibit is firstly an appreciation of the Southern Islands, more awareness of them as well, and finally to reflect on yourself. Do you consider yourself an islander? And if so, how would that impact your way of living and thinking and being? Thank you so much.